Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between LiquidNazgul and MouzMaNa here on Metalopolis. This is Game 4 in a best of 5 matchup between MouzMaNa and LiquidNazgul. Mana spawning over here at the 8 o'clock position of Metalopolis. Meanwhile, we have LiquidNazgul spawning at the 1 o'clock position. Now these past games have been just really great Protoss versus Protoss Mirror matches. I love the Protoss versus Protoss Mirror match, as I believe it's just it's the less boring out of all the mirror matches that I've seen so far. A lot of Terran mirror matches just has a lot of wall-in, a lot of Marine Marauder medevac, which no one really likes to see, and then a lot of siege tank wars, so which generally get drawn out anyways. MouzMaNa currently just perhaps trying to go for any real strategies. This game is now underway, and we'll see what strategy both players are in fact going for. MouzMaNa chrono boosting that Nexus. Meanwhile, LiquidNazgul not chrono boosting the Nexus, perhaps indicating that he may be going for some sort of 2-gate Zealot strategy and trying to do some sort of heavy rush. LiquidNazgul is behind 2-1, and I take that back, now chrono boosting that Nexus, so not going for a 2-gate just quite yet. So LiquidNazgul is behind 1-2 in this best of 5 matchup, so LiquidNazgul needs to win in order to continue this and continue this series. MouzMaNa gonna go ahead and continue to mine up, also getting an assimilator up, so it looks as though MouzMaNa trying to go for a cybernetics core, perhaps trying to get some stalkers and some sentries. LiquidNazgul, however, getting a pylon. Oh, actually no, pylon by LiquidNazgul sitting over here. That's a very interesting strategy, as LiquidNazgul, sorry, hold on. This is LiquidNazgul's base. So I thought LiquidNazgul had dropped an opponent's yeah, never mind. Forget what I thought. Coming back over here, just Mouse still running around trying to get some decent sight into the base. LiquidNazgul has yet to drop down a second gateway or a cybernetics core yet, so that's really what this probe is really looking for. We do see that the assimilator is being warped in, so that with that assimilator being warped in, and that should be indicating that there will be a second gateway or a cybernetics core being put down. We have a cybernetics core from MouzMaNa, so Mana getting that cybernetics core. However, army-wise, both players sitting only at one zealot and one zealot being produced out of this single gateway, and now those two zealots once again exchanging blows. Both players, probes now trying to come in, trying to get in a couple more zaps, and it looks as though LiquidNazgul's zealot gonna get taken down, while MouzMaNa's zealot able to stick around with only 8 hit points left. However, a second zealot will be coming up that ramp. One zealot gonna be trying to hold that front door, and we'll see if that really works. LiquidNazgul really going to be unable to push in here, as that zealot trying to heal back up. How MouzMaNa is in fact holding position on that one zealot, so those units unable to really exchange blows and that easily. Wow, LiquidNazgul taking an additional round of hitting there, so taking some extra shots. LiquidNazgul really needing to figure out what his strategy is going to be. Going for double gas and now getting a second gateway. So perhaps this is more indicating or leaning towards a mass sentry or a sentry stalker army, as there's no real reason to get two additional 2 gas unless you really want to get more sentries and more of those units, more gas heavy units instead of those earlier zealots. So going for triple gateway, now producing that sentry, and perhaps he's expecting that there's going to be a little bit of a push on this front door. Wants that sentry to be able to cast that force field and be able to wall off that choke point. Out comes that sentry. Sentry's going to be able to zap down that probe for just a few damage. However, that sentry is very slow. Warp gate now being warped, now being researched out of that cybernetics core. Sentry trying to split up that damage, trying to take down that probe. Probe now exiting that north side. So very nice juke off on juking that sentry. Double warp or 2 more warp gates and more sentries being warped in. So yeah, going for a very heavy sentry army. So, and if I understand the timing correctly, it takes, I believe it takes 42 time in order to mine out 200 gas. So 2 of these gateways will be able to produce sentries, while one of the gateways will be forced to produce zealots. But that is a very balanced army at this stage, as running triple gate off of sentries and zealots will be fairly effective. A single nexus also being warped in over here at this natural expansion, so LiquidNazgul trying to get that economic advantage, as now we are upgrading to warp gates, and now going for a robo bay. So going for triple gate Robo Bay into Robo Bay strategy. Meanwhile, MouzMaNa also doing the triple gate Robo Bay strategy as well. I do not see any observers though, so going straight for Immortals, no observers in order to get some additional sight. We have a pylon being put down by LiquidNazgul in order to get some additional reinforcements. Perhaps that pylon should have been moved over here, be able to keep track of that. MouzMaNa gonna see that pylon, and now a force field now being quickly cast on that lower ramp, so that with that force field there, no units will be able to get up or down. 2 Immortals on that high ground, so MouzMaNa in a very strong position to be able to just hold that choke point. Meanwhile, back over here, MouzMaNa, sitting on a single probe, realizes that LiquidNazgul already has an expansion up and running, and this is very bad for MouzMaNa, as MouzMaNa is currently just stuck in his base and will not be able to out macro. So the longer the game goes, the more in trouble the game is going to be for MouzMaNa, and not sure who's casting these force shields, but perhaps LiquidNazgul is casting the force shields as well. Are we going to get another force shield? No force shield splitting up this army, and that was a really big mistake by LiquidNazgul. LiquidNazgul losing a lot of these units, so MouzMaNa will be able to come back very strong here, perhaps trying to push back here. And while LiquidNazgul just let this one slip away, as MouzMaNa is being able to take down this pylon and move very strong with a very strong force of units sitting over here. Observer overhead, single Immortal down on that ground, and that Immortal going to be trying to push back. Perhaps what are we going to be seeing here? Those units now pulling back away. Now quick use of those force fields, and now those probes going after those sentries. Now focusing down more of those units. Both sides taking a lot of losses, but still somehow those probes are really changing the fight, as those probes, all of those probes are taken down, but a lot of those units have been taken down as well. More units being warped in. Are we getting any force fields? No force fields to really stop any of those units from escaping. A little surprised that there isn't any force field to try to interrupt some of these sentries down over here. Another sentry getting taken down. More force fields coming in, and those 3 sentries are going to get taken down. There they go. So, wow. LiquidNazgul has lost more units. However, resource-wise, MouzMaNa losing 2150, so a majority of his army was taken down. Immortals now trying to come in, trying to focus down that one Zealot. Zealot pulling back away. Nice use of that force field, causing the death of 1 additional Zealot, and those units once again pulling back away. More Immortals being brought into play. More sentries being brought into play. Now operating off of 4 gate, as that robotics facility is up and running, and using that chrono boost to try to get some additional minerals out of this expansion. However, LiquidNazgul able to mine a significant more minerals than MouzMaNa, as MouzMaNa is only mining out of, actually now he's essentially mining out of 16 mineral patches as well, so evening up the game at this stage. 65 food for LiquidNazgul, 66 food for MouzMaNa, as more units continue to be warped in. No players have tried to take any of these high yield minerals yet, so no one really going to get that too big of an economic advantage. More chrono boost, no forge however, so no forge, no upgrades coming in from either of those players that I can see. A single gateway still not turned into a warp gate. That's probably an oversight coming in from LiquidNazgul, forgetting that he has that gateway down over there. More units still being warped in and being brought into play. LiquidNazgul sitting on 200 minerals. Also finally gonna go ahead and change that to a warp gate, producing more Immortals. Army-wise, MouzMaNa definitely has a larger army at this stage in the game, with a single observer overhead. Nice use of force field. Both players trying to drop them down, trying to split up this army. More units just being split left and right, as those Immortals continue to push back on these units. Now, wow, LiquidNazgul is suffering heavy losses, trying to push back out and trying to do a little bit of a hit and move, and now really MouzMaNa able to take down that force. So MouzMaNa's 1400 mineral army against LiquidNazgul's 600, and we'll see how this really works, as those units are once again starting to push back in. More Zealots being warped into play, getting a couple of those shots in, and now more Guardian Shields coming in. That really needs to get some more force fields in to try to split up this army even further. But more force field just being brought in. Sentries continue to fight, and wow, just force fields being left all around the map. We'll see how this is all going to work in. Another force field on that high ground, so that single Immortal on that high ground is pretty well protected. Actually, he should probably move back over here just a little bit so that he is not going to be able to be shot down, but no, still getting lost, and MouzMaNa able to continue firing, continuing to deal damage, and I believe MouzMaNa wins game 4 in this best of 5 matchup. So I believe he takes this series 3-1, if I recall correctly. But these games have all been ending very early before I've seen the GG. I do in fact have a Game 5, so I will be casting Game 5. Stay tuned for Game 5 between LiquidNazgul and MouzMaNa.